Hold on to your hats, folks, because the tennis world just got rocked by a seismic update that nobody predicted. We are talking about a blockbuster collision. Alexandra Eala, the 20-year-old Filipino sensation, is set to lock horns with the formidable Ice Queen World number 5, Elena Rybakina. This isn't a drill, it is happening right now in the main draw of the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open WTA 500. And believe me when I say this is not your average run-of-the-mill Tuesday on the tour. Welcome to the definitive David versus Goliath narrative of 2026. Rybakina is striding in like a colossus, fresh off a blazing run to the finals at the Australian Open, playing tennis that borders on the supernatural. On the flip side, you have Eala. Sitting at a career-high world ranking of 49, she is the mystery enigma suddenly dominating conversations from Moscow to Astana. Everyone is asking, who is this powerhouse plastering every single billboard across the UAE? I am telling you, keep your eyes peeled. Alex's image is lighting up the mega screens from downtown Dubai all the way to the Abu Dhabi Corniche. Thousands of passionate Filipino fans are mobilizing ready to transform that stadium into a deafening cauldron of support. When even a stoic competitor like Rybakina acknowledges that the crowd is going to be hostile, you know we are on the brink of historic warfare. But ultimately it all comes down to one singular burning question. Can that legendary Pinoy fighting spirit, the indomitable will of the Philippines, generate enough force to crack the impenetrable frozen armor of a ball-striking machine like Rybakina? Or are we about to watch a young dreamer get a brutal reality check in the big leagues? Do not touch that dial. Over the next 20 minutes, I am peeling back every single layer of this combustible matchup. We are diving into deep-level tactical analysis, mind-bending statistics, and the genuine reasons why betting markets are seeing a surprising shift of smart money toward the underdog Alexandra Eala. And hey, if you live and breathe tennis drama, if you crave matches that tear at your emotions, an analysis that cuts through the noise, destroy that subscribe button right now, because we do not just skim the headlines here. We dissect the very soul and DNA of every single point played. Let's rewind the tape and set the scene properly. We need to look at the competitive landscape, the classic underdog script, and exactly why Rybakina might be feeling a chill down her spine, and why she absolutely should be worried. Elena Rybakina isn't exactly known for wearing her emotions on her sleeve. You do not earn a moniker like the Ice Queen by being the life and soul of the afterparty. It is because whether she is crushing a winner or facing a breakpoint, Rybakina's expression remains carved from granite. Zero smiles, zero tantrums, just a terrifying laser-guided focus. However, the vibe has shifted for this tournament. When the press grilled her about the upcoming clash with Alex Eala and Abu Dhabi Rybakina, let's slip a surprisingly revealing comment I will prepare thoroughly. On the surface, she is playing very well, sounds like your standard polite public relations fluff, right, but you need to read between the lines. Rybakina rarely hands out accolades to opponents before the first ball is hit. The mere fact that Alex's name crossed her lips suggests she has identified a legitimate threat to her campaign. And her assessment is dead on. Alex Eala has certified giant slayer credentials. Just cast your mind back to her run at the Miami Open last year where she toppled two former world number ones in back-to-back matches. That is a feat most top 10 players dream of achieving in a whole career, let alone a single week. She did not just survive those matches, she dismantled legends with a forehand that screams pure power and a tennis IQ that is light years ahead of her age. Now let's look at the tail of the tape. Rybakina is a skyscraper at 1.84 meters. She launches serve missiles clocking 192 kilometers per hour and topped the ace leaderboard in both 2024 and 2025. Her style screams efficiency, finish it fast. The fewer strokes in a rally, the happier she is. Contrast that with Alex Eala standing at 1.70 meters, a crafty southpaw and a world-class return specialist. Eala thrives in the trenches. She loves dragging opponents into deep, uncomfortable waters, relying on blistering foot speed and a cardio tank that simply refuses to hit empty. Do you see the friction here? It is classic brute force colliding with elegant grit. It is the irresistible force begging for a sprint, crashing into the immovable object willing to bleed for every single inch of the court. Here is the kicker though. The hard courts in Abu Dhabi are slick. The ball skids through the court rapidly, which on paper hands a massive advantage to a power hitter like Rybakina. But, and this is a colossal but, if this showdown takes place in the evening slot, the notorious desert humidity comes into play. It thickens the air, slowing the ball just a fraction. That microsecond is all Alex needs to adjust her reaction time and turn Rybakina's thunderbolts into lethal counterpunches. And believe me, Rybakina's camp is painfully aware of this meteorological nuance. That variable is exactly why the pre-match nerves are ramping up. Now let's shift to the tactical breakdown and the lefty edge, the secret weapon in Alex's arsenal that Rybakina simply cannot replicate in a practice session. Allow me to explain why being left-handed is essentially a cheat code in a matchup like this. Only about 10 to 12% of the professional tour swings the racket with their left hand. What does that imply? It means Rybakina, a natural right-hander, has spent 90% of her career wiring her brain to combat other right-handed players. Her entire neural network is programmed to anticipate spin and trajectory from a specific angle. When she faces Alex, that world flips on its axis. Alex's serve sliding wickedly out wide from the ad court opens up geometric angles that Rybakina rarely encounters. Alex's forehand, loaded with that distinct lefty side spin, is going to kick off the surface in a way that Rybakina's instincts won't automatically predict. This isn't just hopeful theory, folks. This is proven sports physics. Rafael Nadal, the ultimate southpaw deity, built an entire dynasty on this exact mechanic. He relentlessly hammered the right-hander's backhand wing with heavy jarring topspin, leaving them helpless and chasing the ball like puppets on a string. Eala has studied that blueprint, and you better believe she intends to exploit it until the final handshake at the net. But there is one final variable we must discuss: movement. Rybakina is a tower of power undeniably, but she does not possess the elite wheels of the more compact athletes. At 1.84 meters, her center of gravity is naturally higher, making sudden directional changes a potential nightmare for her ankles. Meanwhile, Alex leverages her lower center of gravity to skid across the baseline like an Olympic sprinter, retrieving shots that 90% of the tour would have watched sail by. You only need to glance at that leaked midnight training footage from Manila to realize her footwork has leveled up in a terrifying way. She looks quicker, rock solid in her stance, and the scariest part, she isn't even gasping for air after simulated marathon rallies. The game plan is starkly simple: make this a war of attrition. Rybakina wants a sprint, she wants boom boom done. But if Alex forces her to hit 10, 12, or 15 balls in every single point, that is when the mental cracks begin to show and the frustration starts to bubble over. And the moment Rybakina loses her cool, you might as well stick a fork in her. She is finished. Let's talk headspace pressure and momentum. Here's why Alex is currently living rent-free in Elena's mind. Forget the cold analytics for a second. We need to discuss the invisible psychological weight sitting on their shoulders. Rybakina is the titan in this scenario. She is the seeded player, the heavy favorite, and for her, winning isn't just an objective, it is a mandatory requirement. Dropping a match to the world number 49 on her own stomping ground in Abu Dhabi, where she claimed the crown back in 2024, would be an absolute public relations disaster. Sponsors would start making angry phone calls, and her world ranking would take a serious, painful nosedive. Eala is currently operating in the most dangerous position a professional athlete can be in. She has absolutely nothing to lose. Being the underdog provides a kind of psychological armor, because the world isn't demanding a miracle from you. That freedom is intoxicating. It means every single point she wins feels like a championship victory, and that loose, fearless style of play is essentially poison to a favorite who is gripping the racket too tight. But you have to look at the context here. Do not forget that Alex is coming in hot fresh off a spectacular deep run at the Australian Open. She is battle-hardened now. She has traded blows with the giants of the sport, and the days of her walking onto center court with trembling knees are ancient history. Now flip the perspective to the other side of the net. You have Elena Rybakina, who is likely running on fumes. She is physically drained from that brutal final in Melbourne, and I guarantee you her legs are feeling like lead weights right now. Her mind is likely still haunted by replaying the mistakes of that loss. And now on top of the exhaustion, she has to deal with the ultimate X factor, the atmosphere. Just picture the scene for a moment. Imagine being Rybakina. You walk out expecting the usual polite golf claps, but instead you are hit by a sonic boom of chanting. Fight, Alex, fight. You look up and it isn't a tennis crowd, it is a literal sea of Philippine flags staring you down. You glance around the stadium for comfort, but Alex's face is plastered on every single digital billboard surrounding the arena. That creates a subconscious pressure that absolutely messes with your head. Rybakina can try to play the stoic ice queen role all she wants, but that level of atmospheric pressure eventually suffocates you. Meanwhile, Alex is breathing that energy in like it is pure oxygen. Every winner she rips down the line is going to blow the roof off the stadium. Rybakina isn't just playing a tennis match today, she is fighting a one-woman war against a passionate army of thousands. And let's be honest, Elena has never walked into a cauldron quite like this before. She is accustomed to the respectful, quiet applause of Wimbledon or the corporate crowds in New York. But Abu Dhabi, make no mistake, this is practically home turf for the Philippines. We need to zoom out to the cultural battlefield here because this matchup goes way deeper than just forehands and backhands. This is a clash of ideologies. Most analysts are too afraid to touch this angle, but this isn't just a sport today. It is a narrative collision. It is a showdown between two completely different worlds. Rybakina represents the old guard, the establishment. She is the polished diamond of Kazakhstan's state-sponsored program, backed by top-tier coaches, an endless budget, and infinite resources. She is engineered perfection, a product of a system, whereas Alex represents something rawer, the manifestation of the impossible dream. Here is a kid from the Philippines, a nation that isn't exactly a traditional tennis powerhouse, smashing through every glass ceiling just to stand on this court. There were no government blank checks, just raw grit, insane talent, and a family betting the farm on her success. And that is exactly why this narrative resonates so deeply. Alex is already winning the game that matters most to the sponsors, the battle for the brand. Just look at the advertising across the United Arab Emirates. Whose face do you see on every corner? It certainly isn't Elena's or any other European star. It is Alex Eala, and you have to ask why. Because the sponsors know that the struggle sells. Rybakina might be ranked higher and hit the ball harder, but who connects with a robot? She is stoic, drama-free, and frankly a bit difficult to root for on an emotional level. Alex, on the other hand, lives a cinematic life. Every match she plays feels like a scene in a blockbuster movie about the girl from Manila taking on the world. This showdown mirrors the seismic shift happening in the sport right now. For a century, the tennis court was basically a private country club for the United States and Europe. But that era is over. The global south countries like the Philippines, Colombia, and Tunisia is kicking down the door. They aren't just showing up to fill out the bracket anymore. They are here to take over the industry. However, let's put the romance aside. Rybakina is still a giant. We need to crunch the numbers because fairy tales don't win sets. Let's talk about the serve. Rybakina brings the heat at 192 kilometers per hour, landing 65% of them and winning 3/4 of those points. Alex clocks in slower at 170 kilometers per hour with slightly lower accuracy at 62%, but look closer at the return points. This is where Alex skyrockets to an 82% win rate. Rybakina has the raw power, sure, but Alex is more. She doesn't need to blast a serve at 190 when she operates like a surgeon, painting the corners and dictating the flow of the rally. Making her opponent scramble is her superpower. Look at the analytics. Alex boasts a 45% return win rate ranking in the top 15 on the tour, combined with a 38% breakpoint conversion rate. Stack that against Rybakina, who sits at a measly 35% return win rate and only converts 29% of her break chances. The math is actually quite simple. Alex is lethal when she smells blood in the water. Give her a single crack at a break point and she kicks the door down, whereas Rybakina has a tendency to let those critical moments slip away. Now look at the tempo of play. Rybakina wants it over fast. She wants 0 to 4 shots maximum, claiming 60% of her points in the blink of an eye. Alex thrives in the grind. She takes 55% of her points in the 5 to 9 shot range, but if you push it past 10 shots, she owns the court 68% of the time. The pattern is undeniable. Time is Alex's ally. Now let's look at the gas tank. In Rybakina's 3-set matches from 2024 through 2026, she starts hot with a 72% win rate in set 1, dips to 68 in the second, and crashes to 61 by the third. She fades as the clock ticks. That is the crack in her armor. Alex is the inverse. Her 3rd set win rate surges to a massive 69%. While others tire, she evolves. That iron lung capacity is the direct result of those brutal humid training blocks back home in Manila. So imagine the upset because she absolutely has the tools to pull it off. Then what happens? I want you to really chew on a few questions here. Is Rybakina physically prepped for this kind of hurricane? She is fresh off a Grand Slam final, and her body has to be screaming for rest. Her mind might still be in recovery mode, and suddenly she is staring down a starving young challenger holding all the mental cards. How does she react when the walls start closing in? It is a script we have watched play out a dozen times before. Titans of the top 10 crumble against no names simply because the burden of supposed to win gets too heavy to carry. When every point feels critical and the stadium is cheering for your failure and a loss would be a catastrophe, your muscles lock up. Once that tension sets in, you are finished. Alex doesn't have that problem. She is playing with house money and every winner is just icing on the cake. Simply staying alive is a mental win for her. But if she breaks Rybakina's serve in the opening game, the dynamic shifts instantly. Flashback to that legendary moment when Naomi Osaka took down Serena Williams. The world called it impossible. A kid with 0 majors stepping up against the undeniable greatest of all time. They said she had no shot, but Osaka didn't play the victim. She played like she owned the court and she took the crown. Eala is channeling that exact same frequency right now. She has that unwavering belief that she deserves to be standing on the main stage. So I ask you, are we about to watch a supernova ignite? Is Alex ready to pull off the miracle? Or will Rybakina crush the fairy tale and remind everyone why rankings exist? I can't say for sure, but I can promise you this. This clash is going to be the highlight reel of 2026. Now here is the stuff Rybakina's camp wants to keep quiet. I managed to get some intel from people deep inside the tour who know exactly what is happening behind the scenes regarding her injury status. Sources embedded deep within her team have confirmed that an emergency lockdown strategy meeting took place the absolute instant the draw was released, and the details are staggering. The only name on their lips was Eala. One insider revealed that while the coaching staff refuses to admit to being afraid, the tension in that room was thick enough to slice with a knife. They fully understand this is not going to be a walkover. They know the stadium will be hostile territory. But here is the kicker. Rybakina's coaches immediately put in a high priority request to pull match footage on every single game Alex has played in the last 6 months. They are currently dissecting her gameplay frame by agonizing frame, looking for patterns, technical flaws, and cracks in her mental resilience. You do not go to those lengths for a simple warm-up. You do that when you are facing a legitimate threat to your title. Flip the coin to the other side, and Alex's corner is radiating a terrifying level of serenity. An associate mentioned she has been mentally rehearsing for this specific heavyweight bout her entire career. She honors Rybakina's skill set, absolutely, but she is not shaking in her boots, and that distinction is everything. Fear makes an athlete rigid. It makes you hesitate when you need to strike. When you are scared, you start playing not to lose rather than playing to win. But respect allows you to flow. You move based on pure instinct, and that is exactly where sporting miracles are born. Furthermore, the online forums across Russia and Kazakhstan are buzzing about one specific uncomfortable detail. They are panicking about the venue here in Melbourne. On paper, the Australian Open looks neutral, but audibly it will be anything but. With the massive Filipino community living here in Australia, that arena is going to be packed to the absolute rafters. It won't feel like a standard tennis match. It is going to feel like a national celebration. Rybakina thrives in respectful silence, but she is about to step into a cauldron of noise she is not engineered to handle. One fan on the message board summed it up perfectly. They wrote, "I am not afraid of Alex's talent. I am afraid because our girl is going to feel like an intruder at her own party." They hit the nail right on the head, because that is exactly the vibe she is walking into. However, the real reason I am betting on a massive upset lies in the training footage. Take a close look at the tape from those late night sessions back in Manila. That is not a standard workout routine you are witnessing. That is a soldier sharpening her bayonet for war. The footwork is electric. The serve is dialed in with laser precision, the forehand is heavy, and her eyes, those are the eyes of a cold-blooded finisher. The scared little girl who was just happy to qualify is long gone. She stands there now with her armor on, prepared to battle until her lungs give out. This is far bigger than a simple game of tennis. This is the evolution of the sport unfolding before us. Let me let you in on a secret that most casual fans completely miss. This showdown is about to shake the very foundations of the WTA Tour. Maybe not instantly and maybe not by sunrise tomorrow, but if Eala pulls this off, and that is a massive if, we will mark this as the day the earth moved in the tennis world. Just think about it. For generations, these courts have been the private playground of a specific club of nations, the Americans, the Russians, and the Western Europeans. That was where the legends were forged. That was where the machinery of success lived. But the tide is turning. Warriors from Colombia, Tunisia, and the Philippines like Alex are storming the gates. They are not just showing up to fill a spot in the bracket anymore. They are coming to take the trophies home. They are shattering the glass ceiling into a million pieces. Eala is carrying something far heavier than just her national flag on her shoulders. She is the avatar for every underdog nation clawing its way toward the spotlight of the elite. If she takes down Rybakina, a true titan of the game, the statement is undeniable. You do not need a wealthy zip code to rise to the very top. All you need is grit, obsession, and heart. But look at this from a different angle, the business side. The sport is going global, and sponsors are hunting for more than just a killer forehand. They want a legend in the making, and right now, nobody spins a more compelling narrative than Alex does. A kid from Manila grinding past midnight, smashing through obstacles to challenge the gods of the game that is marketing gold. That is why her face is lighting up the skyline here in Melbourne. That is why heavy hitters like Rolex and Nike are circling her like sharks in the water. However, let us pivot back to the blue courts. A victory here broadcasts a thunderous signal to every kid with a racket. It proves that the ranking number next to your name does not dictate the winner. Mental fortitude and battle plans do. The sport is starving for this reality check. We have been stuck in an era where brute strength ruled supreme for way too long, but this isn't a prize fight in a ring. It is not just about muscle, it is chess played at high speed. It is a battle of wits. It is about survival of the smartest, and believe me, Eala has that instinct running through her veins. Now for the verdict you have all been waiting for. Here is how I see it playing out. If the sun is high and the heat is up, Rybakina likely sweeps it 2 sets to love. The heat speeds up the bounce, her serve becomes a cannon, and Alex will be chasing shadows all afternoon. But if this match goes under the lights, that is a different beast entirely. That is where Eala steals it 2 sets to 1. The night air kills the speed, letting her craft her masterpieces while the stadium energy shifts heavily to her corner. No matter whose hand gets raised at the end, I guarantee you this, you cannot take your eyes off this clash. You are going to witness brilliant strategy and the raw fire of a young challenger fighting for her right to exist on this stage. Do not let this one slip by you. Tune in, pick a side, scream at your screen, but watch it, because if the underdog triumphs, you want to be able to say you saw the spark ignite. Even if the favorite holds the line, you will have seen a masterclass between 2 supreme athletes. Before I sign off, I need to hear from you. Where is your money on the rising star Alex or the powerhouse Rybakina? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. Give me your pick and tell me exactly why you believe it. If you crave analysis that cuts through the noise, stories that actually matter, and stats that reveal the unseen, hit that subscribe button for this channel. We don't just read the scoreboard, we uncover the soul of the match. We dig until we hit bedrock, and we keep it real. Thanks for hanging out, and I will catch you in the next update. Never forget, on the court, the word impossible does not exist. It is just a question of who dares to dream the loudest. Eala has made her bet. Now let us see if she collects.